You're watching News at Prime. Let's bring you this now. Tiffany Meek was denied bail in the Roodepoort Magistrate's Court today. She will now stand trial for the murder of her 11-year-old son, Jayden-Lee. Meek claims she is being framed and that evidence was planted in her home. Jayden-Lee was reported missing in May of this year, and his body was found in the stairwell of his apartment block the very next day. During court proceedings last week, prosecutors opposing her release on bail, arguing it would disturb public order. The magistrate, Jayden-Lee Afrika, says the defense failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. All right, let's try and take this conversation forward now, and we speak to Miranda Jordan, founder of Women and Men Against Child Abuse. Miranda, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Just watching those pictures of Tiffany Meek and being very emotional as she rushed down to the holding cells, clearly couldn't hold herself together. How important a decision is this for the court, and what kind of message you think it sends out there to people who may find themselves in her position?
Absolutely. I think it sends a very, very strong and a much needed message. We've been working on a number of child murder cases in the last 2 years in particular, an increasing number, where parental figures, biological parents, as well as step-parents or caregivers and close family members have been involved in child murders. And these are the people who have very close daily contact with children and have access to the most intimate areas for the children, and that is their bedrooms, their bathrooms, etc., and who are in charge of the protection of their children. And almost every trial that I have been sitting in and been involved in and monitoring, I can tell you what the reaction is exactly like hers, that they are so distraught, not so much about what they did, whether it is the torture, murder or sexual abuse of their child, but it is the fact that they are caught and they cannot believe that at last our criminal justice system and some of our magistrates, and we really applaud the magistrate in this case, for denying bail. It's a very, very important and strong message to anybody who thinks of harming their child and thinking that they will get away with it.
Yeah, I just want us to revisit some of the charges here, and perhaps it is going to bring into focus the seriousness with which she is charged with here. These include murder, criminal injury, defeating the ends of justice, and attempting to obstruct justice. And you go back to some of what we have heard, Miranda, going back to some of the court proceedings leading up to today, where she's been trying to apply for bail. Information came out suggesting that little Jayden-Lee did say at school that he's being abused at home, but this was not taken seriously. And this is why the Department of Education in Gauteng is now investigating here. How deep a betrayal is this on a child when they are reporting abuse at home at the hands of the people that literally gave birth to them?
Absolutely. And you know, a child can only say this so many times. And when, first of all, the biggest betrayal, as you've just mentioned, is by those who are meant to love and care for them. So when those people are not protecting them, and those people are the actual people hurting them and hurting them badly, and then they tell the next step of people who they hope now will do something and stop this, and this does not happen. So once again, we really hope to see an investigation by the department into this, because this also has happened within the Department of Social Development and other organizations that were supposed to investigate or send a social worker to the premises and actually see what is happening there, not send us with an appointment, but actually just turn up and actually see what conditions the child is living in. So that is a huge betrayal of this child, and this all could have been prevented. Obviously, you've alluded to the fact that also one of the other things is that she did not allow police in her home and did not open her doors immediately and say, please, I need you to find out who could have come into my house when I wasn't there, or if I wasn't there. I know she has said she was visited her mother in the early hours of the morning. So who's looking after her small child at 5 a.m. and between 5 a.m. and 5:30 and 6 hours back home? And, all sounds quite bizarre. But I think the fact that she didn't help the police in the investigation, tell them that, she is desperate to find out who could have done this to her child, all points at what the magistrate said, that this was all very unreliable, and that certainly the defence did not prove its case. We do know that it really is. It is very unlikely, can I say, in the last 2 years that we have seen people who are completely disconnected to a child and have absolutely no relationship or no reference with the family or greater family members being involved. This is certainly a very minor percent, maybe 10 or 12%. So we really do applaud the magistrate. She's sending a very strong message to any sort of parental figure or anybody who has a child in their care. And we also know from the autopsy report that there were serious, violent injuries to the small child. You can just see from his pictures as Jayden-Lee was a small young boy, and that there is absolutely no way that a child can stand up in any way to being violently struck like this by a parent. Yeah. We know there were face injuries, head injuries, and leg and arm injuries. So we know, and that he really didn't fight back, which also probably points to the fact that this has not happened to him before.
Yeah. Just as a final question.
Yes.
Apologies, Miranda. Final question. I'd like for us to get into her state of mind for a moment. There's something interesting you said right at the beginning, and that is that when she was emotional, it's not because of the loss of her child, as you say, but it's to do with themselves, that they have been caught out. What about self-harm? Do you think that this decision to keep her in custody for the duration of the trial, let's remember that this is not a conviction yet, it's merely a denial of bail, so a lot is still going to come out during the trial itself. If we look at her state of mind, do you believe that this could also be a good decision in terms of her not harming herself because she perhaps simply could not stand the scrutiny when she goes back to court, and possibly, she could take her own life? Or you think that this is very far from the behavior of such people?
Yeah. Again, that's quite a split in this. Yes, you look at someone like Advocate Kennedy, who committed suicide knowing that there was so much evidence against him that he was going to be stigmatized in the community, and he'd probably spend the rest of his life in jail. And we know what happens in jail. We must remember, you walk in, it is locked down. This is life over to a very large extent. So I think the realization of these moments, I think, it's very hard to tell at this stage. I haven't, there's been very little interviews of her personally of how she's feeling or what she's going through. But I think, there are those who really know that this now could be very serious, and some also start regretting what they have done. I don't know if I've seen real remorse here, so it would be difficult to tell. But I think what's really important here is that the investigation happens properly and thoroughly with no interference by the accused in any way, and that a proper investigation is completed. And then we have a decision. And in the meantime, all the people that need to play their parts, including the Department of Justice, but very much that the criminal justice process is allowed to proceed with absolutely no interferences, and perhaps there may be other witnesses that are going to be called, and that they also feel that they are free to testify without any harm or repercussions.
Miranda Jordan, thank you very much for that perspective, talking to us about the case of Jayden-Lee Meek. This is the young child, 11 years old, his life taken so young, and the allegation is that his mother may have been responsible for his death. Miranda Jordan, the founder, or Miranda Jordan rather, Miranda Jordan, founder of Women and Men Against Child Abuse. Thank you very much, Miranda, for your time.